Okay, we're talking about stiff leg deadlift. Of the six major skills, lifting or a deadlift like this is very, very important. When I talk about the difference between lifting and squatting, squatting is typically to get under something, lift something up. Lifting in this manner is actually trying to grab something where there's a knee obstruction. So unless you have a knee obstruction, you wouldn't lift something like this. But in a stiff leg deadlift, there are a lot of situations where we have a knee obstruction, have to grab stuff. And then from a performance point of view, if deadlifting is the thing that you're going for, then you should be good at this as well. Getting stuff from the ground is actually a combination between a lift and a squat. What they call a full deadlift is actually a combination between a lift and a squat. So talking about just a stiff leg deadlift, so I'll get you to turn sideways, facing me actually. I'll move forward a bit. I'll scratch my wall. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your knees slightly unlocked, okay? Now, traditionally, and this is the way I used to teach it as well, when you're doing your deadlift, it's really push your knees out of the way to keep that leg angle the same. Well, if we're going with the premise that you're working with a knee obstruction that maybe you can't even push against or anything like that, your knees can stay where they are, and you do your deadlift. So go ahead. And so this is really your waiter's bow with weight in your hands, right? So and come back up. What you do want is you want the bar to stay fairly close to your center of gravity. You're monitoring, like we do with all other exercises, your big three, so the 60-40-0 in your feet, so 60% in your heels, 40% your forefoot, and 0% on your toes. For a lot of people, when they're doing deadlifts, they're transitioning all the weight into the back of their heels, not a functional position to work from. You should be working 60-40-0 all the time. So we go through our waiter's bow. Monitoring your neutral spine. This is where a lot of people are getting injured doing activities like this and letting their backs round. So one of the first things that happens here is people, think about getting the bar to the ground. That's all they're really thinking about doing, and they round their lower backs. Okay, you're come all the way up, higher. Even just to here, and then round your back. So even to here, I've seen people, they're already rounding their backs through here. You're already exposing your discs to pressure that they don't like, and you need to correct this. You're not monitoring your neutral spine. You need to monitor it more heavily. If you don't know, if you're not sure if this is what's happening because you're working on your own, simplest way to monitor this, stand up. So you're going to take a piece of tape, a piece of cloth tape, hockey tape, something like that, and put it on your lower back. Turn this way. Put it on your lower back, starting really at the top of the pelvis, up, just a couple of inches. What this is going to allow you to do is monitor if you're in neutral spine. So neutral spine really is you arch your back till you feel compression, and then you just decompress a little bit. If you decompress too much, you'll feel the tape go tight. So now you have the advantage of if you feel compression, you're too arched. If you feel the tape, you're too rounded. Okay, really good tool to work with. For those of you that are more advanced, you practiced it, you just want to monitor it, but it does become a bit of a pain sometimes. You got to take the tape off if you're going to do another activity. You can use K-tape for this, or some sort of elastic tape. You just put it just barely tight enough not to be supportive, but if you round your back, it will give you some feedback because it stretches, and it'll help encourage you to stay in that neutral spine position. You can turn this way, other way. Okay, then from there, so you're monitoring your neutral spine. Now you're going to engage your TVA without losing your neutral spine position, and you're going to keep the bar close to you. Slowly bending at the hip like you're doing with your waiter's bow. And at what point should you stop? Really, the limitation to a stiff leg deadlift is your hamstrings. So if you can keep neutral spine, one of two things actually will stop you. Either you're going to, your pelvis is going to come up against your femur and you're not going to be able to bend more than that. That's a large percentage of people have that depending on how your pelvis is designed. Or your hamstrings are going to go tight. Ideally, stand back up. Ideally, you're doing this, you go down till your hamstrings go tight and then you come back up. Okay? Sometimes with the knee flex, if you're a fairly flexible person, I don't want you go really to your limit as far as you can go. Yeah. And you can see there, Julian, to go any farther than that, that's in your hamstrings, you feel it?
No.
Where?
My hamstrings.
Yeah, okay. and I can feel it here, just the last section of his pelvis. If he goes any farther than that, wants to open up. Okay? A lot of people, it's going to be because you're compressed through here. Doesn't matter. Work the weakest link. People are trying to get this to the ground. If you force this any farther than this, that movement has to come from your lower back, and you're putting yourself at risk. Okay? Come back up. So, ideally, it's the traditional stiff leg deadlift. There's no movement at the knee at all. There can be some movement at the knee, but keep in mind it's that knee obstruction profile. You're reaching over a half wall or something like that to pick something up. Then you're not going to have the luxury of pushing your knees forward, but you don't have to push them back either, which puts more stress on your nervous system. So one more time, big three, lean forward, keep the bar close to you. Yeah, and keep your knees where they are. Stop when your hamstrings go tight or when your pelvis limits you, okay?